Welcome to an unusual episode of Banjo Quest. Today I'm going to take you through my two-step process of bridge placement and proper intonation for the 5-string banjo. I was taught this technique and it works really well. It's easy enough for anybody to be able to do it, so don't be intimidated by this if you are a beginner or new to the 5-string banjo. Roll up your sleeves, I'll walk you through it, you're gonna be fine, and your banjo is going to thank you for it. It will sound much better when you're done. All right, let's dive in. This is how I do it. I divide it into these two stages. So I think of this first stage as rough bridge placement, and then I move into the fine-tuning stage. All right, so let me start this process with me taking my bridge off my banjo. I want you guys to see how that's done. I'm going to put my fingers under these strings, and I'm going to lift up firmly, and then I'm going to knock that bridge over, and I'm just going to kick it out like that. What you want to avoid is sliding the strings sort of out of the slots of the bridge, because that can create problems with your bridge slots. You want those bridge slots to stay nice and neat, and if your strings, the tension of these steel strings, if they slip out of those slots, it can create chips in the slots, which can mess with your intonation and can create buzzing and in general make the bridge not as good as it once was. So be careful, lift those strings straight out of the slots and knock that bridge over and then scoot it out. There are no marks on this head. There are no pencil markings at all. This banjo didn't actually come with any pencil markings, so you guys know I am being honest with you. We're starting from absolute scratch. Bridges are a cheap way to experiment with setup and tone, and if you have this ability to get great intonation with a bridge, that gives you this self-sufficiency so that you can explore the different tonal palettes that aftermarket bridges can provide. So we have my bridge. There are a couple tools that you will need to do this. One is a tuner. I like tuners that generate tones because I prefer to tune by ear. This is a tuning fork. It's a G tuning fork, which is a little unusual. These are kind of hard to track down without buying a full set. This is 392 Hertz, concert G, so I use that a whole bunch. The other thing I use is a tuner that generates test tones, and that's called Inst Tuner. And I really like that because I can generate chromatic tones and tune by ear that way. It does have a strobe view. I don't pay attention to that unless I'm in a situation where I can't hear the tones. The other things that you will need are a tape measure or a length of string, yarn, microphone cable if you're at a gig. If you need to do this in the field, I'll show you how to do that if you don't have a tape measure. Any length of string will that you can either cut or just measure. And I'll show you how to do that. All right, let's get started. Stage number 1, how to position a bridge on a banjo. Okay, first thing you should know is that a bridge this way is asymmetrical. It will lean one way, and you want it to be leaning back towards your tailpiece. So I picture it sort of a cowboy riding a horse, and this is the horse's nose. The nut of the banjo is the horse's nose, and the cowboy is pulling back, saying, "Whoa, back." So he's leaning towards the tailpiece. I don't know, that's kind of a silly analogy. It helps me remember that the bridge is leaning back. So how to get a rough placement on this, it's pretty simple. The 12th fret is equidistant between the bridge and the nut. So that means that if I take a measurement from the nut to my 12th fret, right here it is 12 3/4 inches. If I take that measurement from the 12th fret to where my bridge should be, it should be the same measurement. So the distance from the 12th fret and the nut is the same as the distance between the 12th fret and your bridge. And this is how I get my rough placement. Now, here's another way to do that. If you don't like or don't have a measuring tape, get a length of string, measure between the nut and the 12th fret, cut yourself a length. I've already done that to save time. And then the string length from the 12th fret down towards your tailpiece will indicate your rough bridge placement. So I know that my bridge needs to be right there as a general rule. All right, so since I know that now, one thing some people do, you could mark that with a pencil. I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. Let's say I'm in the field, I'm at a gig, I'm at a jam. I don't have a pencil on me. I just want to do this quickly. So I'm going to get a rough idea of where that is. I'm going to kind of eyeball it. You can see that there. And then I'm going to scoop up these strings one at a time here, put them in my left hand, spread them out on my fingers so they'll be kind of fanned out on the bridge. You can see my yarn is sort of off a little bit. That's fine. We just replace it. No big deal. You know, don't get frustrated with this process. Just take your time. Use it as a little quiet moment for yourself. And again, this can be super rough. This is why I like this technique. We're not relying on this measurement for our final bridge placement because we're going to fine tune it. So this doesn't really matter. We want to just do it quickly, get it in there. I lift up on the strings by pushing down with my thumb on the head here, and I'm kind of applying some force, lifting those strings as high as I can, and then writing that bridge in the general area of the string. And I'll fine tune that even further in a minute. Okay, now these strings are not in the bridge slots, not all of them anyway. The way to do that is to lift up on the string and place the string in the slot vertically. Don't slide it over and let it catch. You'll chip your bridge slots and mess up your bridge. I do my first string first, then I do my fifth string, then I do my fourth string. See how I'm placing them very carefully? And then I do my second string. And I kind of wiggle this back and forth a little bit, make sure it's sort of center. The tension is kind of pulling it center. All right, let's take a quick measurement with my little string here. Yeah, and we can tell that I'm gonna probably need to slide it back. Let's just leave it there for now, and we'll learn more about this process in stage 2. Now, a lot of folks stop here, and they put a tilt on the bridge, so turn it counterclockwise just a bit to account for string diameter and tension, and they'll call it a day. This is not where you want to stop. You've still got another half of the process to go. This will not get your intonation perfect. The next half will, and we are going to be using harmonics for the second stage fine tuning. So don't stop here. I've seen folks stop here. You are not done. You've still got a little more to go, and the fun part is coming. We get to use harmonics and really use our ears to get this in the absolute perfect place. Let's do that now. Moving right along, here we go. We're going to tune up the banjo as part of stage 2. The very first thing you need to do as part of stage 2 is to get this banjo tuned to itself. I'm going to use a tuning fork to start, and I'll show you how that works. I slap my knee or some other reasonably hard surface with my tuner. You can hear that that's generating a tone. Then I just press the butt of that tuner on the bridge, and I get a nice G. And you know you've got a stable banjo when after all that monkeying around, your strings are still in tune. Pretty cool. Now, I could use another thing to generate tones and pitches. Let's use this Instuner thing. This is a D. I'm going to use a low D for my 4th string. I'm not using that strobe meter. I'm using my ears. If you don't believe me. Going on. I like using my ears. I trust my ears more than these stupid meters. I don't find them to be very accurate. There are times, of course, where the meters are really important. If you're at a jam or a gig and you've got one of those clip-on tuners and the room is loud, those are a godsend. They're fantastic. But if I've got a few minutes to myself in a quiet room, nothing beats using my ears for this kind of thing. Okay. And I try to tune up into notes to take the slack out of the string. Then you're not as concerned about burrs in the slot of the pip or the of the bridge sort of catching the string. You can kind of take out the slack, and I find the tuning to hold better if I go flat and then tune up into my notes. Okay, that's pretty good. Now let's use harmonics to derive a perfect bridge placement. Okay, what is a harmonic? The harmonic, to derive a harmonic, you're going to set your finger gently down on the 12th fret. Let's use the 4th string to start. You're going to put your finger over the 12th fret, not behind it like you would if you were fretting it, but over it, and gently put pressure on the string. Don't push it all the way down to the fret. Then using your right hand, you're going to pluck that string and then release your left hand finger. You should get a nice chiming sound from that move. Let me play it for you without touching the string with my left hand. Okay, now the chime, the harmonic. You can do it on all the strings, of course. We're going to use these harmonics to fine-tune our bridge position. So check this out. I want my harmonic note over the 12th fret to be the same in pitch as my fretted note over the 12th fret. You guys can probably hear that those two notes right now are not the same in terms of pitch. The fretted note is sharper. It's higher. So here's the rule. If your fretted note is sharper than your harmonic note, you need to move your bridge away from the nut and toward the tailpiece. You need to lengthen the string to flatten your fretted note so that it matches your harmonic. Now, if your fretted note is flat in comparison to the harmonic, you would need to move the bridge towards the nut. Already you can see, I measured it, right? You saw me measure it. You can see that the measurement is not enough to derive good intonation. There's something off here, and only by using your harmonics can you get that figured out. So let's start the process. That is sharp. I'm gonna move the whole bridge back a little bit. Look, I'm using 2 fingers, 2 hands, grabbing the bridge on both sides so it doesn't fall over again, because I really want to avoid that. It makes a loud sound. It can be very startling, but it also can risk chipping your bridge slots, and you don't want to do that. These bridges are nice. They're made with love. So now it's a little flat. Now here's the thing about moving a bridge. As soon as you move a bridge, your banjo's out of tune. So there is a lot of retuning, especially in the beginning here. Let's use my tuning fork again. Good. Kind of a painstaking process, but I enjoy it. If I've got a few minutes to spare, I find it really relaxing to do this kind of thing. Listening to the tones, concentrating on hearing those changes in pitch and trying to match that harmonic and fretted note. All right, let's get back to it. I'm gonna start moving fast so we can get this done. It doesn't take too long. Still sharp. Sharp. It's all sharp. I'm moving the whole bridge back a little bit. Let's verify. Use my phone to get some of these other pitches so we can be really precise. I love having that matching tone. hard to tune a banjo when it's on the ground, huh? You may find that you like to do this in your lap. And if so, go for it. This is just my way. Okay, good. Let's carry on here. Sharp. Sharp. You know, I also tend to avoid the second string a little bit. The second string is a bit of a problem child on the banjo. That is actually a little flat, so I'm going to start to tilt the banjo. And you should notice that you're going to end up, with most banjos, you're going to end up with a slightly counterclockwise tilt. And that is fine. It doesn't have to be perfectly perpendicular to the strings. Sharp, way sharp. And that third string can be troublesome too. The third string is often quite sharp, which is why a lot of folks, including me, favor compensated bridges. This bridge is not compensated. And you'll see me sometimes bend the string to, it helps me determine sometimes when these notes get really close, when you're really hot on the trail, you can't quite hear. I bend the string to see if maybe it sounds better if it's sharp. And in this case, it does. So I'm going to minutely make that adjustment and move the bridge towards the nut to make it sharper. That's sharp, usually is. But that's pretty good. I'm gonna put a little tilt on it because I think that first string is a little sharp. Third string is definitely sharp. That's okay because we're not using a compensated bridge. I'll probably account for that in my tuning, which is something I like to do. And one of the other reasons I like tuning by ear is that I can sweeten the tuning to taste by maybe playing a little bit with the tension of that middle string to make it sit a little better. Even technically, in that case, it would be out of tune according to a tuner. It would sound okay. It's a little flat, put a little, yep. Okay, let's tune this thing up. We're almost done. Get a B note here. This is great ear training. Okay, that's nicely in tune. Let's just check. First string sounds really good to me. Maybe a little flat. So I'm going to, maybe my tilt was too much. Little moves. Take your time, better. Too much. It's funny. Sometimes it's one step forward, two steps back with this process. But again, don't get frustrated. Try to enjoy it. That's better. It's nice to see that progress suddenly be made. And the more you do this, the better you'll get at it. All right, let's give it a final tuning and see where we are. Sometimes you need to pick it up. play with it a bit to really be able to tell if the banjo's in tune. Let's do that. Let's just do that. I'm going to be a little out of the frame here. Let's scoot in here. May even be a little out of focus. Hopefully not, guys. Sorry about the angle. Almost there. So you want to play it up the neck a little bit. The higher the better, especially at that 12th fret. And verified. Yep, that's definitely a little bit sharp. Let's try that. And you know, one thing to think about, too is to do this with fresher strings. I think one of the issues today is these strings are pretty old. I haven't changed them in probably 5 months, and I play a lot. I don't think a string is broken in until about the 3-month mark, so these guys are probably nearing the end of their lives. Which is why they're a little they're kind of a moving target. That sounds pretty good though. So that's pretty good. That's where I would leave it for now. And then in the next 20 or 30 minutes, I'd be playing it and I'd make minor adjustments. Again, you can always check those harmonics. They're pretty good, but they still need a little bit of further adjustment. I think I probably have too much of a tilt on there, and we'll fuss with that a little bit later. But sometimes you also need to give your ears a break. So in this process, you get to a point where you don't seem to be making any more headway. Take time, give yourself a break, and then come back at it after 20 minutes and go again. And you will eventually get this into perfect tuning. And it's also something you want to check on the banjo. Every few times you pick it up, you simply run through your harmonics at the 12th fret and verify that they are in unison with your 12th fret notes. And that's just a nice quick check to see how your intonation is. Anyway, I hope you have found this useful. This is the way I use to get this bridge in the perfect position every single time, and it works like a charm. Don't be afraid to do it. Jump right in and go for it. It's a lot of fun, and it can really make you self-sufficient on the instrument, which is really important. That is it for today. I just wanted to let you guys know again that in April I will be doing a Banjo Quest boot camp for patrons over on Patreon. That is going to be an entire week of morning lessons. I'm going to run you through my routine in the morning, and I'm going to take you through some knuckle busting exercises that are guaranteed to improve your technique. We'll be doing it for 7 days straight, taking some slow tempos, and then by the end of the week, we will be raging. And this will be archived, so if it's not happening at a time that's convenient to you, that's okay. You can always go back and look at it at your earliest convenience. And that is it for today. Thank you so much, and I will see you next week on Banjo Quest.